And you said like people are recognizing you out in the street.
Yeah, it happens oddly often, I suppose. Yeah, people ask for pictures and stuff like that. I don't. The really weird thing was in the UK, and I had posted a thing saying, "Hey, tell me some good places to go while I'm there," and I had gotten a million recommendations. Honestly, the first day we were there, we're in Westminster Abbey, and I am waiting outside the bathroom for my son, and some guy comes walking by, and he was like, "Oh, I love your videos."
Oh,
and I'm like, I'm in Westminster Abbey, really? That's where this is going to happen? We then went to Edinburgh. A bunch of people had recommended a couple of different breweries to me. Yeah. And I think I had commented, "Oh, I'll probably check that one out while I'm there." Yeah. So we walked to this brewery, tiny little place, but there were a lot of people in there. And we walked in, we sat down, got a beer. I said something to my wife, and this guy next to me sort of chimed in on whatever it was that I had just said. And I looked over, and so I, engaged with him a little bit. And so it turns out he knew who I was, and he was there because he thought I might come.
Oh, my God.
And so he started talking to me, and then other people, while he was talking to me, like everybody else in the place came up. They were all there because they thought I was going to come there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Brew That Podcast. I'm your host, Richie Tevlin, joined as always by Evan Blum. And today we have on a very special guest, Alan Spoll, with Beer with Alan.
Beer with Alan.
I feel like everyone knows who you are. I mean, you came on the scene last year, and you started posting in December of 2023, doing beer reviews on Instagram, and you currently have 240,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah, I read about that. 245, I think it is.
That's insane. That's like the growth, the trajectory that you have, and I think that like what you're doing is just like very genuine and it's like different than everybody else. Kind of what they're doing. I don't know how to describe like what are you doing that's different than everybody else? Like I don't know, but it's like clearly everybody like my sister-in-law's brother follows you. Like all these people that have like no connection to me follow you, or no connection to like beer through me follow you. So it's I want to we want to get you on and kind of hear your story and like how did Beer with Alan kind of become who you are?
Because that's such a crazy rise from literally starting last year at some point.
It is, yeah. No, it was right before the holidays last year, and I as far as the background, I like beer, and I drink beer a fair amount. As I've said on the things, I only drink beer on Fridays and Saturdays, which I know has been a bit of a challenge scheduling for you guys. But it's and that's just my that's the other part of it where I sometimes talk about this in my videos. Like I'm a runner, I'm a marathon runner, so my fitness matters to me.
Yeah, you can't drink every day.
Right, so I try to keep my weight right in a very specific area, and on the weekends I eat and drink what I want, and the rest of the week I'm careful and I run a lot of miles, and it tends to all work itself out. But I started this thing. My daughter is she has a social media presence that's actually it's pretty large, and she does television and film reviews.
Okay.
And she had started doing this a few years ago, at the same time that her then fiance, now husband, was also starting a thing on YouTube related to stock market, financial stuff. Mm-hmm. And he hit right about the time that the whole meme stock thing was happening, GameStop and all of that, and he hit big. And he's got a big following, and he was able to leave his other job, and he has a whole career on YouTube.
Wow, that's awesome.
And then my daughter started doing her thing, and she, it was working out really nicely for her. So we were at a restaurant up in Manhattan, about to go to a Broadway show last year in December. And we were at a beer place called Beer Authority, which is right above the Port Authority bus station. And I was talking about beer, as I do, because I
That's
I
what
know
you
a
do.
lot about beer. I read about beer. I research beer. Whatever.
Yeah.
I find things out. And for like the 50th time, the two of them were like, "You need to make videos. People will watch the videos of you talking about beer." And I was like, "Nobody's going to watch videos of me talking about beer." Like they were like, "No, you clearly love it, and you know what you're talking about, and people will watch it." And I'm a 56-year-old guy. It does. Talking to my phone seems very unnatural. I was like, there's no way I'm just going to make videos and put them out on. I don't watch any videos. I don't watch Instagram. I don't watch TikTok. I other than my daughter and son-in-law's things, I'll watch those.
Yeah.
But I really don't watch anything else. And they were like, "No, you should do it." And for some reason that day, it was like, "All right, I'll try it." So the next day, I made a video, and they both had assured me that like the one thing you have to do is put something out every day. That'll help you get picked up. And there was TikTok had a few people watching, YouTube had a few people watching, but hundreds, not really more than that. And Instagram for the first few months, I swear the only views that were happening were people that were related to me. Nobody was watching it.
Well, welcome to the club. That's most people on Instagram.
Yeah. And in February, we were flying to Florida to go to my nephew's wedding.
Yeah.
And I made a video from the airport about a beer I was drinking at the airport. And that one actually got some people watching it. Not a ton, but it got some, enough that I noticed. And I was like, oh, well, that's kind of cool.
Something's different than what
maybe
you normally
something's
do.
picking up.
Yeah.
The real thing was in March, when I had started a little series where I was calling it like "Don't Drink That, Drink This."
Yeah.
And it was talking about like a big popular beer, and I wasn't really saying don't drink it.
Here's an
I think-
alternative to a macro beer.
right? But now granted, I could have and later did call some videos, if you like that, try this.
Mm-hmm.
But I was a little calculated, I guess. I'm like, if I say don't drink that, maybe people will
Negativity
notice and
almost gets
argue.
it a little bit,
Right?
yeah.
I didn't want to. I don't go negative. Like I don't really make negative videos. I don't want to.
That's about as
negative.
innocent negative as you
Yeah,
can
exactly.
be.
Like I don't want to badmouth beers, especially small breweries, which is
Yeah,
most of the
yeah.
stuff I'm trying to support. Right?
Yeah.
I almost never make negative content, but in this case, I had done one where I said don't drink. I don't know, it might have been Budweiser or whatever. So I had done something. I think it was Budweiser was the first one, saying don't drink Budweiser, drink this. And I tried to come up with something that was sort of a similar style, but in the craft beer world, and an alternative that I thought that people who like that one beer might like the other one. The second one I did was don't drink Corona, drink this. And I recommended 805 Cerveza from Firestone Walker in California. Firestone Walker does a lot of really great stuff, and honestly, that kind of Mexican lager isn't my favorite thing. I don't really drink either one of them, but I was like, well, if you like Corona, I bet you like this.
Mm-hmm.
And now, granted, it's going to cost more and stuff like that, and I tried to mention that, but I just wanted to give an alternative. And for the first couple days, that video was getting some views, and then like 3 days in, I woke up one morning and my iPad, I read on I use it like as a Kindle. I have an iPad mini that I read. And I picked it up and the notifications were insane. And I was like, what's happening here?
Yeah, who hacked my account?
And I looked at it and the thing was just pinging. And it like for 2 weeks, that video just went crazy.
Uh-huh.
And it's by far my most viewed video ever. It has 16.2 million views.
Oh my gosh.
Right. I don't know why. People saw it. It hit in Mexico. So I had a lot of people in Mexico. And I mean, there was a lot of negativity in that video. People saying,
Well, you start a conversation maybe.
Yeah. Well, I try to reply to comments when I can and to clarify things or whatever. I ignore most of the comments now, but back then I was like, well, I need to address these things. The people were like, oh, sure, tell them don't drink the beer from Mexico, drink the beer from California. And I was like, the beer from Mexico is owned by a Belgian company, and the beer from California is owned by a Belgian company. Like, you're arguing
And they
the
make
wrong
the beer
point
from
here.
Mexico in North Jersey.
Right. There's all kinds of points that didn't make a whole lot of sense there. But it just kept going and going, and the follower count grew and grew and grew. That video and then the stuff around it started getting a lot of views and all that. Like, and I went from on Instagram from what had been a couple thousand to over 100,000, like in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was 3 or 4 months after you started. Because I remember
Yeah.
when I came across your page, you had a ton of followers, and it's just like, who is this guy? And then I scrolled. It took me 3 minutes to scroll to the end of all your content. I was just like, is that it?
Right. Yeah. No, there wasn't a lot there, but that one, that got me the big boost, and then ever since then, it's just kind of grown steadily. There are other videos. There may be 10 videos or so on Instagram that have 1 million or more views.
Yeah.
But the second biggest is like 2.5 million. Nothing like that 16 million view video. Yeah.
What did that feel like in the moment? Like, because I remember our first viral video, and I was just like, what the heck?
Like, who's watching this? You know, it's
Like,
like
actually, who was watching it?
Yeah, well, no, it's astonishing. The first video that had anybody watching it, like seriously, I was making dinner, and my son-in-law called me, the one I was talking about who has the YouTube account, and he was like, today's videos, looks like it's doing something. It wasn't that big giant one, but even just getting a few thousand views was like,
when you break through out of like just people that you know and follow, and then you're like people on the explore page or like other people that are outside of your circle start to look at it. It's just like, all right, what is going on here? Like, I'm kind of breaking through that glass.
yeah. I mean, my real thoughts were like, they had told me that people would watch, and now people are watching, right? So I thought that was cool. I really didn't. Then you start to think, all right, well, I had these big breakthrough videos, so now what do I do to do more of that? Mm-hmm. But I very quickly decided that what had been successful up to that point, what was doing well, was just, I wasn't trying to do anything special. It was just me talking about something I like, or making a suggestion, or making a recommendation, and I'm just going to keep doing that.
Well, what your daughter and son-in-law says, like, you have to post every day.
Yeah.
Like consistency, but also like consistency of the content as well. You keep doing the same thing every day. It's not something new every day. I think your followers like that. I think that they go on looking for the next video that you're going to do. If you did something new every single day, it'd be almost confusing.
Right. Yeah, my son is an avid YouTube watcher, as any 13-year-old boy will be. And he likes to joke about how he would do the Beer with Alan videos. Not that he thinks they would be more successful, but like in his mind, it's like every video he watches, which is like, welcome back, guys. It's Beer with Alan. Like that, something along those lines. And I'm like, that's just not me. I'm not going to do a lot of editing. I'm not going to do a lot of graphics. I'm going to do my basic thing. And
I'm in your boat. I mean, there's a reason that Cole does your ad reads. Like, I can't do an ad read to save my life. It's like I don't have the ability to talk and do the introduction voice.
But that's also part of it, like just being you and not doing like all these crazy edits. That's also, I've got to imagine why that works.
It may be. I get a lot of comments where people are like, most wholesome page on Instagram, and my wife's very favorite comment that ever happened in the history of my social media, which was the Mr. Rogers of beer.
Nice, I like that. There's worse things to be called. We did an interview with somebody last year, and your name got brought up because I think it was like right when you're blowing up. I'm like, I don't even know if this guy knows how to use social media, but somehow he's figured it out. Like, it felt. Everything feels so authentic. Mm-hmm. It feels like it's you. It's like sometimes you get on like these internet, like I'm sure, not to say what your daughter and your son-in-law are doing, it was not authentic, but I'm sure what they're doing is like a lot cleaner, maybe.
Sure.
So, and there's something to like kind of rough edits and like kind of like, it feels like you're literally just doing what you're doing, talking directly into your phone.
That's it. I mean, as fancy as I got was, so I have a bar in my basement, and that's where I'm making the videos. And I bought a ring light stand that holds my phone. So that's as fancy
Well,
as I
there's
got.
a difference between like
Yeah.
making it so you can see everything clearly and like
Right.
an ultra edited video.
Right, but originally, first few, I was like holding my phone, and I really like. It took me. So a lot of my videos are like two parts. Like I introduce whatever the thing is, and then I talk about the beer. And a lot of times I'll stick like a green screen thing behind me,
Yeah.
right? And it took me literally until like 3 weeks ago before I finally figured out how to get all of it not be backward.
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, because the app I use, it's you're using the selfie camera.
Oh, so you have to mirror.
So
the
right. So I figured out how to reverse me with this app, but then I realized that when I did the green screen, I was still reversed. And finally, 3 weeks ago, I figured out how to do it so that it's all facing the right way. Nobody's helping me. I don't know a lot. I just kind of do it, and I don't think that it matters that much. Like I think that I don't know. It's that people seem to like that I'm telling them about stuff they don't know, and maybe they can check it out. And even if they don't, sometimes I'm talking about. Even if they don't want to drink it, I made a video yesterday. So I've had some the Milestone beers.
Yeah.
That's the biggest bit of nonsense of the whole thing, really.
The
number of beers, because if you use Untapped, and I don't know if you guys use Untapped at all, but there's people with so many more than I have, right?
Yeah.
And while I like to try new beer, that's not my main point. I want to drink beer that I like.
Yeah.
But what happened was a couple months in, I was like, just playing around with structure and what to say and how to introduce things. Mm-hmm. And at some point, I was like, all right, so on my Untapped, at the time, my number of unique beers was at like 2375. And that's since 2014 when I started using Untapped.
Yeah.
And so the one day I was just like, I've had almost 2,500 different beers. And it was one of the things I was going to try as an intro. Mm-hmm. And people immediately started commenting on it. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll keep doing that. I was a little farther than 2,500 than I should have been to start saying that with people putting as much focus on it. Because it took me a good long while to actually get to 2,500. But because of that, I keep saying it. So I, 2,500. And yesterday I did my 2,800.
Yep.
Right. And again, I don't try to do splashy stuff. I don't try to do gimmicky stuff. Some people say the beers are gimmicky because, if you're talking about Samuel Adams Utopias, well, that's not a straightforward beer, right?
Yeah.
It's beer, but it's very unusual. And
it costs $120 a bottle or something.
It's twice that. Yeah, it is. Now, I didn't buy it. I made a video months ago that I called...
Was it numbered? Because I think Utopia, they only give it to employees, or can you buy it also?
No, you can buy it, but they make a very limited amount. They make it every 2 years. And I made a video called My Death Row Beer. And it was... just a silly idea where I was like, all right, so I'm on death row and I can ask for one beer. What beer would I ask for? And it's different than like the Desert Island beer, which is like, all right, this is the only beer I can get. I'm like, well, here's death row, so there's something different. I was like, well, I want to make them give me like the most expensive thing I can think of, right? and so I gave various other reasons for it, and it was that beer. And Samuel Adams saw the video, and they reached out to me, and I got some things coming in the future that I think I'm going to be able to do with them, which is very cool. But they sent me a bottle of the 2023, which I didn't open until yesterday.
Awesome.
And the idea actually came from a follower who I was trying to. Some people were asking me, when are you going to drink that? And some people said, well, save it for 3,000. I was like, wow, that's too long though. I want to taste it before then. And somebody was like, it's 28%. Do it for your 2,800th. Brilliant idea.
There you go.
Fantastic. That's what I'm going to do.
Do you know Barstool Sports?
Yeah.
So Dave Portnoy does the pizza reviews. Have you seen those?
I know of it, though.
Okay, so it can make or break a company. It's like people go in and he goes and he just does the same thing, like one bite, everybody knows the rules, and gives a score 1 through 10 on the beer. And a lot of times, whether he gives a good score or not, just the fact that he's been there, people like that because it's like, all right, he's done this like 10,000 times and he's been there. So like, because you've done now hundreds of these videos or you've drank 2,800 beers, the people that are following it every day are probably like, all right, when is he going to do my favorite beer?
Right.
You know, they want to feel kind of connected that way.
And so, like, what I'm curious about is your audience is very much national, I would imagine.
International, actually.
International.
Yeah.
So, like,
about 20% is UK.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And you feature, like, plenty of local beers, like, just because you're from the area as well.
Right.
Have you ever talked to any of them if, like, they see spikes because of it, or, like, it's cool that you're featuring all the local places just because we're around here and we know all the names. But it's funny, too, because, like, somebody from UK has no idea of maybe, like, a handful of the places you might be naming.
Yeah, no, so anywhere I go, and I get to travel a little bit, and anywhere I go, I try to find some local breweries and, have at least have some beer that's local to that area. I haven't talked to the local breweries in a way to, to see if they've gotten a boost
A commercial
from me talking about them. I've done some reaching out to breweries to try to, get some promotional work and things like that. But the little breweries don't have budget to do anything like that. So it's kind of challenging. But I'm not. That's not my whole purpose for doing this. It's very little of my purpose for doing this. It's more just that I like the beer. So I know that some of them have said to me, hey, thanks so much for mentioning us. We've heard from a lot of people since you made this video. It's cool. I appreciate that. Can I open up one of these?
Could you?
Yeah.
Could
absolutely.
we try your... So we have your homebrew. Right. So you're our first guest to bring in their own homebrew. Like, when we have professional brewers come in, I'm excited to try this. We need to finish these, though, before...
Yeah. Well, I'll open this one first, and then we can do that one later.
Cool.
Now, I'm going to be a little nervous to having you try this.
I'm not a beer
snob. You're like a legit brewer.
I'm not a beer snob at all.
Yeah, well, I mean, my setup isn't great. I think this beer is okay. My friends all like this one. And so... I guess we'll talk about when we drink it. But sure.
Your homebrew setup, what do you have? Have you been homebrewing for a while now?
No, 2019 was the first time I attempted it, not counting my freshman year in college when we did some stuff with some pickle tubs and stuff like that. But no, I've got a really basic, really tiny little thing. Just have a kettle, have a little 1 gallon fermenter that has a spigot on it, and siphons and things like that. It's really, really pretty basic.
So a lot of people do homebrew because they used to say they didn't want to pay for their own beer, but homebrewing is probably more expensive than buying your own beer. But I imagine at this point, are you getting a lot of free beer from people? Like, are companies reaching out to you?
Yeah, constantly.
I've seen a lot more of those posts, definitely of recent, than ever before, I think.
Oh, like a promotional kind of thing?
Yeah, just because like everybody's giving you like some stuff at this point.
Oh, yeah. Well, right. When I receive stuff, most of the time when I receive stuff, I'll put up like a static post of the stuff I get. And then I've made a few videos that, are direct paid partnership things and all of that. But yeah, I hear from places pretty regularly, which is basically just like, hey, can we send you some beer? Whatever, sure, absolutely.
Yeah. There's one answer for that. Yes.
Right. Yeah. No. Well, I get a lot of stuff from followers wanting to send me beer,
really?
but I haven't done any of that so far because honestly, I don't want to give out my home address to everybody.
Yeah.
And
it's a little more vetted.
You can't get a post office box because you can't receive alcohol in a post office box. You can get like a UPS box, but there's limits on how much you can receive, and it starts costing you a bunch of money. And so, I was like, well, I don't really have to do that yet.
Yeah.
So I haven't.
You're getting enough beer from the commercial brewers.
Yeah, I a year ago or whenever, I used to have this little cube fridge, and I had upgraded to like a taller one with glass door and all of that kind of thing. And I don't have anywhere to put all the beer that I get. I give some of it to my friends. Like if I get stuff like somebody gives me a 6-pack, I'll keep 3 of them, and then I'll put 1 each out for 3 of my beer friends.
Yeah.
Your friends must love you at this
You're
point.
the little beer fairy. You like sprinkle free beers everywhere you go.
Yeah, but there's a whole section of my basement where I just lay out all the beer that's going to be for them. There's. But I mean, I keep some of everything that I get.
Yeah.
It's funny because I buy singles most of the time. I don't really want to have.
Especially if you're
Six
drinking,
of something.
if you're drinking, doing a review every day, it's like what you've done a review, but now you have to do different beers every single to line up all the days. Like, then when are you gonna get to those other 3 beers?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. No. Exactly. And I've got a little aging closet
cellar.
with shelves that are now completely packed, and I have to now get another
Nice.
set of shelves. But yeah, I like doing that too. There's a lot of beer coming in, which I appreciate every time.
Yeah.
You know, anybody wants to send me stuff. I mean, and I get like hats and shirts and stickers and koozies and all that kind of stuff. It's nice.
At Wazak Inc., they keep your water clean, safe, and flowing at its best. From local breweries to busy distilleries, they're proud to serve over 20 spots across New Jersey, New York, and PA with top-tier water treatment that's affordable and built to last. Wazak know that every brewery has unique needs, so they tailor boiler treatment plans that keep equipment running smoothly and efficiently. And for them, it's not just about water. It's about delivering safety, satisfaction, and reliability to every client. So ready to elevate your water quality? Connect with Wazak Inc. today and let them get your system to its peak performance.
Nice. Have you gone out anywhere? Have people invited you out to breweries or different events or anything?
I've gotten invited to a few things that I haven't done. I've been getting regular invitations to beer festivals.
Okay. We're having Jeff on from Kennett Brewfest.
Okay.
After this.
They just invited me.
Really?
I got a couple of messages. I haven't even replied to them yet. I saw the thing, but I did actually. I got a couple of different messages from them. It's a little far.
Yeah, you're up in Montgomery County.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I think it's one of the oldest beer fests in the area.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's 28 years old.
Oh, cool.
So they're kind of OGs. I want to hear his story after this, but yeah, it's we talked to Ken from Human Robot.
Okay.
Where he goes out to different beer fests, and he's a character in the beer scene. So he goes and everyone's like, Ken, let me get a picture with you. And you said people are recognizing you out in the street. It's got to be. People are recognizing you and you're not at a beer fest. When you go to a beer fest the first time,
Well,
it's probably going to be everyone's going to be like, all right, back away.
Honestly, that's been
Get
part of my
alive.
hesitation. Not that, I mean, everybody's nice, but
Yeah.
it's
It's got to be weird.
it's
people
really
looking
weird.
at you.
The first time it happened was a long time ago now. I mean, relatively a long time ago. At Tannery Run in Ambler,
Okay.
which is it's a place we go sometimes on a Friday night. It's a restaurant, the beer's good.
Yeah.
I go in there and we had walked in and there was a line waiting to check in with the host stand. And my son's standing next to me and we walk in the door and this guy in front of me in line turns around and looks at me and he was like, "You make beer videos, don't you?" It was like I had become a god in my son's eyes. He thought it was the greatest thing that had ever happened. But it happens oddly often, I suppose. People ask for pictures and stuff like that.
That's fun.
I don't. The really weird thing was in the UK. We went to London and Edinburgh and Liverpool in August just for a family vacation. And I had posted a thing saying, "Hey, tell me some good places to go while I'm there." And I had gotten a million recommendations. And we were there. Honestly, the first day we were there, we're in Westminster Abbey, and I am waiting outside the bathroom for my son. And some guy comes walking by, and he was like, "Oh, I love your videos."
Oh,
and I'm like,
my God.
I'm in Westminster Abbey, really? That's
Yeah.
where this is going to happen? We then went to Edinburgh. Cool little town, by the way. I don't know if you've ever been there, but really amazing. And a bunch of people had recommended a couple of different breweries to me. And I looked up one, and they did a bunch of barrel-aged stuff. So I was like, well, that's my kind
Let's
of
go
thing.
check it out.
And I think I had commented, "Ooh, I'll probably check that one out while I'm there." Yeah. Right at the beginning, I was like, I won't do that.
Famous last words.
Yeah. And so we walked to this brewery, tiny little place, But there were a lot of people in there. And we walked in, we sat down, got a beer, and I said something to my wife, and this guy next to me sort of chimed in on whatever it was that I had just said. And I looked over, and so I, engaged with him a little bit. And so it turns out he knew who I was, and he was there because he thought I might come.
Oh my God.
And so he started talking to me, and then other people, while he was talking to me, like everybody else in the place came up. They were all there because they thought I was going to come there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
It was really weird. And I had asked the woman behind the bar, I was like, I wanted to make a video while I was there, but it was too small and too loud. And I was like, can I step outside and like make a video out front? And at first she was like, you really can't. There's laws, whatever. You really can't take our glass outside, whatever. So I was like, okay. So I kept looking around, like, what am I going to do? And then after all these people were talking to me, and I saw that she kind of was keyed in on that, I went back and I was like, you sure I can't do this? And she was like, okay, do it, but just do it quickly. So I went out and made my video. I came back in, I walked back to her, and I said, thank you. And she was like, no problem. She was like, while you were outside, I texted my boyfriend. He follows you. I was like, all right, there's something about Edinburgh where they all know me. Because I got stopped in the street walking there.
That is so crazy. You
Well,
could have never imagined something like this.
You do drink, I feel like, a lot of, not English-style beers, but, like, I don't think that, like, a lot of people that are in craft beer, they only drink hazy IPAs. Where, like, you do have, like, a very eclectic range of the different beers. You're, like, macro beers, large breweries from around, like, a lot of European breweries. And I think that you are, a good representation of, like, the entire beer industry, not just, like, the hyper-specific local breweries or these hype breweries.
Yeah. Right.
It's a really good point.
Yeah, I try to be varied, not for the content reasons, but just because that's what I like. I like trying different things. I've always been amazed amazed and somewhat disappointed sometimes when you go to a brewery and there's 20 different beers, which is awesome, and 15 of them are hazy IPAs. And
Yeah, I mean, and like top 5 or 10 beers this year, like you had like a barley wine on there. And it's like,
I think I had 4 barley
yeah,
wines.
4 barley wines. And like, I personally, I am not a fan of barley wines,
Okay.
but I recognize that it's like, yes, this is like a very artistic type of beer. And like for you to be liking barley wines and you're legitimately liking them, it's like, you have a much wider palate than I think most people that are into craft beer.
Maybe. And
I think you'll recognize that and they like it. It's like part of
Yeah.
like your popularity. It's not like you're trying like all the other half beers and you're saying like this is a 4-1, this is a 4-2. It's like you are trying kind of everything.
Yeah, I mean that's I think what's super fun about just beer in general is all the different options, and I think you're covering like all the just everything like to that. Yeah.
And I like a hazy IPA. There's some of them I've had that are fantastic, and I like that. I feel like I like. People have gotten on me because I've said I don't like pilsners, which people are like, how are you a beer guy that doesn't like pilsners? But
I'm about to give you a pilsner when you leave today. I'm sorry.
That's cool. Well, I've been drinking more pilsners lately and starting to recognize some things about them that I appreciate. Because it's a whole category. I don't want to eliminate a whole style. I want to like something about anything. But
But barley wines are your favorite?
So I've long said that Belgian quads are my favorite. But honestly, at this point, I would probably say barley wines. And it's funny because especially an American barley wine is far hoppier than a lot of the stuff that I tend to drink.
Yeah.
But they're great amount of malt in most of them as well. And so I don't know, I think I like the big flavors, and those are big flavors.
It's like almost when Victory and Dogfish Head and Sam Adams, when they were starting to like come up and like they were like in their high growth phase, it's like what was considered like what people consider like the hazy IPAs, the triple hazy IPAs, like or like these like super crystal lagers, like the top beers now. But those were the top beers back then. They were like these barley wines and these quads and like these Belgian beers were the best breweries in the country. Those were what they were advertising as like what they were good at brewing. And I think that, it is like this style that's like a little bit more artistic. It's like packed. It's flavor intense. It's like it has a lot going on. It's almost more like a whiskey than it is like a beer.
Right, and that certainly went for the Utopias that I drank yesterday. The discussion on the videos is all about, well, that's not a beer. I was like, well, it is a beer,
Yeah.
But it's not like any beer that you're going to drink.
Yeah.
It's very unusual.
They went into it. It's like I think they brew it multiple times with different yeast to like get it to that ABV level.
Yeah, there's a whole crazy process that I'm looking forward to finding out more about. When they reached out to me, when they sent me the bottle, they had originally asked me if I was interested in coming up to their brewery to to do like a vertical tasting of various years of Utopias with Jim Cook.
Wow.
And I was like, well, sure, yeah.
Yeah, how many people
absolutely.
get that opportunity?
Right. And then they said, well, they wanted to delay that till this coming year because they weren't brewing Utopias in 2024.
Okay.
So they sent me the 2023 Utopias and then said in 2025 we'll do that.
Awesome.
I'm
that's
hoping
exciting to look forward to.
It's super exciting, yeah. You know what? Meeting the guys who were the big pioneers in some of this, like I haven't done a lot of that, but that's something that's on the schedule that I'm excited about. I got a few weeks ago. I ran the Rehoboth Beach Marathon, and Dogfish has their brew pubs right there in Rehoboth Beach, and so they asked me if I wanted to come by, have dinner in their restaurant, and meet Sam Calagione.
Yeah.
Which I did, and he was super nice, super cool, very interesting guy. Very accommodating. It was nice, and that's the stuff that's really exciting.
That's stuff that like people that are into craft beer, like that's like the crowning jewel of like their entire beer experience. And like now, like if they're, probably in the next year, you're gonna hit like 5 or 10 of these things that like people would die for. It's very cool.
Yeah, maybe, and I certainly I know I feel really fortunate for all of it. It's. If the biggest thing that ever happens with this is that I get a bunch of free beer,
it's like what we were talking about before. It's just like, you just got on and you were just talking about beer, but like you were already kind of like you were talking to your daughter about beer, and she was just like, I'm tired of listening to you. Like, you need to go talk to the internet about this. Like, you were already doing what you're doing now. You're talking into your phone doing it.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's
fun. Now I just spend a few minutes each day doing it.
Part of, we talk about like this explosive growth you've had, but like, a lot of people say like an overnight success isn't an overnight success. Like there's like a lot of years before that, but like you've been into beer for a while. You are very into it, and it's like, just because now you're on the internet, it feels like you just started drinking beer and then you got all these followers, but like you were kind of like already doing this.
Look, my search for good beer, I probably, you said you read that story from Onward State.
Yeah.
I'm sure I said some of it during that interview. It started when I was in college, when my roommates were all drinking Busch.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't like this very much. But I wasn't like, I don't like beer. I was like, well, I bet there's better beer.
Yeah.
And better beer at the time meant I was finding, Molson or Moosehead or something that seemed a little bit different than Busch and Schaefer, which is the stuff we were smuggling in our backpacks into the dorm. Yeah.
Everybody's got those good stories.
Yeah, absolutely. But, and then honestly, the first one I remember really making an impression on me was Yuengling Lager, because that to me like legitimately tasted different, and I liked it, and I could find it places.
So you went to Penn State and then Drexel, and was Yuengling already in Philadelphia? Was it like, what was Yuengling like at that point? Was it still like a hard to find beer?
No. It had, so as I got out of college, Yuengling seemed to be showing up everywhere.
Okay.
In the area.
Yeah.
At that point, I spent a few years living and working in Florida after I finished college, but once I came back, it kind of
it was already there.
Had hit bigger, and it was just about everywhere. So that was one that really made an impression on me. And then, the Stoudts from Adamstown, I guess they sort of still exist a little bit.
Yeah, they're owned by Evil Genius now.
Yeah. I would encounter their beer every once in a while, and I thought their beer was really cool and really interesting. And I was like, why isn't this everywhere? Why can't I just find this?
Yeah.
And then Anchor Steam from San Francisco was like...
Also just got revived.
Yeah, or is in the process of, right?
Yeah.
These were beers that just stood out to me as different and interesting, and I really liked them.
And flavorful, is what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And I knew that there had to be more. And so I just started looking for, everywhere I went. Show me something different. What do you have that's not the standard stuff?
Yeah.
Do you have a beer that you actually go back to? Is it because I feel like you're always you want to try all these new beers. Is there a beer that like you frequent? You're like, I'm gonna have this one. Like I'm gonna go back to this one.
Well, so I do go back to, like, I have my favorites, and,
Sure.
and I have things that that I've had more than any other, but it's not a ton. Like, there's people who
Will only drink
The comment
that.
I get every day is, oh, you've had 2,800 different beers. I've had 2,800 Coors Lights. I don't have anything that I've had that much of.
Yeah.
But no, well, you'll know well. The beer I've had more than any other beer is Golden Monkey.
Really?
Yeah, and
Well, you're talking about a quad. I mean, it's a Belgian
yeah.
triple, and at this
Yeah.
point, it's become the standard beer for Belgian triples.
yeah,
I mean, they probably sell more Golden Monkey than any Belgian triple in the whole world. And I know a couple years ago, there was Sour Monkey was the #1 sold sour beer in the whole world.
really.
Yeah, and now in Golden Monkey, I think it was definitely in the United States, but probably in the whole world. I mean, they just sell so much of it.
That's
Now it's become like, somewhere in Downingtown, Pennsylvania, is brewing like the standard for Belgian triple.
That's amazing.
That's
I
like
didn't
you
know
never
that,
drank.
but I just did promo for Victory for Witty Monkey,
Nice.
which they're starting to sell
Yeah.
outside of the brew pubs now.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. But Golden Monkey is like, I've had a lot of triples, right? There's a lot of triples, and there's a lot of great triples. In Belgium, there's a lot of great triples.
Yeah.
But it's hard to beat Golden Monkey. It's just a really good beer. And now it can't be your 2,800 Coors Lights because it's 9.5%, right?
So you don't want it to be the 2,800 number.
Right. But when this is tied to that. My daughter got married a few months ago, and so she had this really small wedding up in New York, and she had said to me, the venue said that we could bring in a few cases of beer of our own in addition to whatever they have. So she's like, so you're in charge of the beer. You pick what
Very fitting, yeah.
She was like, bring me 3 cases of beer, and you can pick what it is. I was like, okay. Well, and I'm thinking, all right, what am I going to go buy? And this is the same daughter that does social media stuff. So she was like, you should just ask the breweries to give it to you. And at first I was like, I can't ask people to give me, I'm not just going to ask them to give me beer for your
No,
wedding.
they'd be so excited. They'd be like, look who just asked me.
Yeah, well, it's funny because for a long while I didn't do it. I kept thinking about, well, what beers am I going to have? And then finally I was getting so much beer from people and being reached out to by so many breweries that I was like, maybe I can. So let me think of the ones I would want the most and let me just ask them.
Yeah.
And I asked the 3 I wanted the most, and all 3 were like, absolutely. One of them was Victory, so we had a case
What,
of
can you
Golden
say what
Monkey
the other ones are?
at the Ommegang and the Lost Abbey from San Marcos,
wow.
California.
Belgian breweries.
Yeah, that's my stuff. It's always
Yeah.
been my stuff.
Yeah.
So it was great. It was really it felt really good to have them say, oh yeah, we would love to do that. But what was funny is that, so I posted a video saying, hey, thank you to these breweries for giving me this beer for my daughter's wedding, and people were like, Golden Monkey, like 9.5%. They're like, you trying to get everybody drunk at the wedding?
It's a
Like,
wedding.
what are you
A perfect wedding beer.
Yeah, it's funny, but it's such a good beer, and it's so consistent.
That's the thing. It's like complex. It's like a deep. It's 9.5%. It's like a complex beer, but it's like the same thing every single time.
It is, and I know that that's what that's what people want, right?
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing, I guess, for this really small breweries to be super
Consistent,
consistent
yeah.
with what they make. But
Do you have a favorite macro beer? Like a favorite lighter beer?
people ask that a lot, and I honestly I don't drink
A
very
lot.
much macro
Yeah.
beer, and light beer in particular. I just don't really have a taste for. Like if I don't drink enough beers in a week. Like I'm drinking beer only on Friday and Saturday, and trying to get new
It's a
stuff.
good
So
treat.
I'm like, well, so I'm just going to drink like some. People are like, well, I don't want a heavy beer with a lot of alcohol because I'll drink 2 of them and I'm done.
Well, that's why you make the videos. Don't drink this, drink that.
Right. But I'm also like, I don't need to drink a lot of them. I'm not drinking them because I want a buzz. I'm drinking them because I like the taste and I like the beer. I think out of the relatively large, straightforward, pale lager style of beer, the one that hits me most fondly, I guess, is Red Stripe.
Okay. That's
I know
fun.
it's not necessarily quite as common as
No, but it's
some.
good. No, and it's fun that it comes in the bottles, like the little.
Yeah,
small
I like the
bottles.
little bottles. I went years ago to Jamaica a few times, and sitting on the beach drinking a Red Stripe just
It brings you
there's
back to
fond
that.
memories there.
Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah, that's probably my answer.
I
to
like
that.
it. Great answer.
Okay, so when are you gonna hit 3,000 beers? Like, do you know what that timeline looks like at this point?
Well, yeah.
Like
So
roughly?
I've had to think about that stuff a little bit because as I
It's more planning to it now.
Yeah, well, when there's any planning, it's actually sort of annoying for me, right? Because like this last week,
I just trying to drink some beer.
right? Well, yeah, this last week I had a bunch of extra beer because when we went to Nashville, where my wife is from, during the holidays, and so when I'm on vacation, I'm away from home. I will drink beer on any day of the week, right? When I'm away. And then we had New Year's Eve, where for years and years, my wife and I have always found a bunch of beers that neither of us have had, and we, share them on New Year's Eve. So I realized at some point that I was really close to 2,800, and I was like, oh no, because I was doing this countdown through New Year's Eve of my top 10 beers of the year. So I was like, I can't hit 2,800 because I can't make a video about it because I'm doing this stupid countdown. So the countdown worked out fine. I shouldn't say it was stupid. It just, it made it a little difficult. So, well, the one positive thing was I was like, all right, well, from here till here, every beer I drink has to be one I've already had. But that's all right. I like to revisit, beers that I like.
Also, the 2,800 beers at 28% beer. Like, you can't be drinking that and all the other beers you're trying.
This is also true. But yeah, so I thought about like, well, when will that 3,000 come? My wife has talked to me about, well, you need to set something up. You need to find a place that like wants you to come out and make it an event, make it a thing where, they could bring people in and.
That's easy enough, honestly.
Someone
Yeah.
should make a beer called 3,000 Allen's 3,000th beer or something.
Which
That'd be easy enough.
10,000 will be a
You
festival.
could do like find
full
someone make like
festival.
some pub brewery that can make like small batch brewing.
Yeah,
Somebody could do
maybe. But it looks like it'll be May,
Okay.
I would say. It is sometime in May.
Someone should make a Maibach, maybe.
It'd be a great choice. I like a Maibach. Yeah. So I'm not exactly sure, but
Yeah.
we'll see as time goes on.
Nice.
You gonna crack into the?
Yeah, can we crack into your homebrew?
Sure. Just be
Do we have-
gentle.
Do we have a bottle
here.
opener?
We do. This is it's a porter.
And what's the?
Oh wow! Yeah, that's going to be great on the video.
That is gonna be great on camera.
I don't know why that happened.
The joys of homebrewing is what they call it, right?
With this batch.
literally already.
Here.
Oh, did we lose the whole beer?
Oh no.
I already went to grab it as soon as you said, "Oh, let's crack it open." I immediately ran to get paper towels.
Wow.
That has happened.
Well, it smells great.
I don't know if it was because it was
Said
cold
that.
and it's been sitting out, but
It's normally like a yeast thing.
I've had some batches where that happened a lot. This beer has not done that.
Well, it could even be just the bottle itself. Like that's why homebrewing is so. That's why I don't homebrew. I'll tell you that. It's like
All right.
everything is like just very hard about it. It's just like even the bottle itself could like just have something in it. It could have like nucleation points or something.
Well, sorry for the bath.
No, I mean I feel like I taste it.
Does it taste all right?
Yes, it tastes amazing.
So this was
Yeah, it's really good.
That's a porter that so I brewed the porter and then I got oak chips
Yep.
that I soaked in Jack Daniels.
Yeah, it tastes like that.
And then I added them to the fermenter
That is
before we
good.
bottled it. So there's no actual barrel involved, but it got a
the
little
same
bit of
thing.
that
You got it
flavor
on
from
the
the
wood
chips.
there?
Yeah.
That's good. What's do you know what the ABV level is?
Yeah, you know, it's like 6.5. It's not.
Okay.
It's not a lot.
It's good.
Thank you, sir. Thank
That
you.
makes good content.
Oh, it's going to be an awesome photo. I will say.
The champagne of beers.
There you go.
That's fun. All right. Well,
I don't know if you got to
thank
taste
you.
it, but there's a little bit left in here. That's too much.
That was epic. Absolutely epic.
Well, this is why I'm here. You know, you can tell. You know, I talk about beer. Making beer is not necessarily.
Well, the
my-
beer is good. It just exploded.
I did like one homebrew batch, and that happened to every bottle of mine. I would open them with the sink, like specifically.
I had one batch, one particular beer that I made where like every bottle did that, but it was not this beer, and these have all been good.
Yeah, it's normally like either a carbonation issue. So it's either like it's over carbonated, so there's like too much yeast or too much sugar, so it's like the CO2 levels like normal beer is like 2.4 to 2.7 probably volumes of CO2 per liquid. So it might be like 3 or 4, and then it just kind of erupts, or it could get infected at some point, or it could be that there's just something in there, or old yeast or something that then it like even after you bottle it. So like it's not just like the batch itself. Then like each bottle then is different.
Yeah. All right. Well, sorry.
Well,
about
no, don't apologize. That was awesome. Thank you.
And what'd you say? You named it?
that. Rhinoceros.
Rhinoceros.
Yeah. So we've got 3 dogs. We've always had rescue dogs, and so almost all of our beers that we've made have been named after our various dogs over the years. And this one, our newest dog, she's been with us for about 1.5 years. She's a French bulldog, and she's a little bruiser. And but when we got her, my wife, her name is Sadie, and when we got her, my wife was like, she looks so big and tough, but she's a sweet girl, and so we should get her. We got her a collar that's all like mermaid shimmery colors, but since she's kind of like a rhino, the way she plows through everything, so we combined the mermaid and rhinoceros to give us Rhinoceros.
Nice.
Yeah. And we figured, well, it wasn't super strong beer ABV wise, but it was rather strong.
But you have the
flavor,
Jack
so-
Daniels wood chips in it, so like
Yeah.
it's like it's lower ABV, but has like a little bit more flavor to it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So
good.
it was interesting.
Cool. So I guess you homebrew with this, but then you got sponsored by
Pinter. Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. They reached out to me, and they I've seen their stuff advertised in a bunch of different places.
Yeah.
And it's just very simple device that you purchase the kits
Yeah.
through them, and it's basically a liquid extract that combines. It's not just the malt extract. I guess there's various other aspects of it too, because there was no extra hop addition. So I guess the hops
was
are
just kinda
already
all built
part
in.
of the extract.
Yeah.
And you just sanitize everything. You pour the stuff in. You add a bunch of water. You close it up for a few weeks, and
There you go.
it's just this very nice looking device that has a tap built into the front of it, and so once it's brewed and you chill it for a week, and
Then you just have it
you pour it, and yeah, it's
Nice.
fun.
Nice. So I guess we've talked a lot about Instagram, but like you are also on TikTok, YouTube. Are you on like Threads or Twitter or anything like that?
I have a Threads account with Beer with Alan. I don't really do much with it. There's a Facebook account too, because I had to create that in order to
get the
set up
Instagram.
some of the Instagram
Yeah.
partnership stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't post anything to Facebook either. But yeah, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, I post every day. And YouTube is strange because I've posted every day for a year and it still doesn't do anything. There's almost 2,000 followers on YouTube, which wouldn't be terrible if I would think that was cool if I didn't have the other things and had the other numbers. But most of the videos,
it's mostly Instagram and TikTok though.
Yeah, TikTok. I'm right about to get to 50,000 followers, and then Instagram is at 245.
Are you seeing kind of the same videos on each platform? Like, would the same video go viral on both of them, or is it kind of different?
It depends. Instagram, I guess, simply because of sheer numbers of followers, Instagram is always, almost always, the larger number of views for every video. Every once in a while, there's a TikTok that outperforms the Instagram one. Yeah. But like yesterday's video, which is doing pretty well at this point, that's the one. That's the 2800th beer. Yeah. Right. As of the time when I was sitting eating lunch, that one was at about 450,000 on Instagram. Wow. The TikTok was at
crazy
120,000.
Okay.
Something like that.
And it's about that, it's like that's about your follower split also.
Right. Now, yeah, I mean, I'd say that I've got 20% of the number of followers on TikTok, but most of the days TikTok only gets about 10% of the views that Instagram gets.
Okay. So it might be that TikTok's just a slightly younger generation, so maybe like half them aren't even drinking age anyway.
I think that's probably a lot of it. When I look at the breakdown, they're fairly similar between the two services, but
you said TikTok does a unique thing where it tells you like if people are searching for you. It tells you like what they search for instead.
Yeah, I can see the search terms that they used and all of that. That's not something that Instagram gives me.
Yeah. It's like this magical, that's why it's so confusing. It's like the magical social media algorithm. Like nobody knows how you're.
Yeah, I had a call with Meta about a month ago. They reached out to me and asked me if I would participate in this sort of fact-finding process that they had where they wanted to make some tweaks to their algorithm, and they wanted to talk to some content creators about
That's so cool.
their impression of the algorithm and
like what you thought about like if they were making adjustments, like if you thought it was like
right now they weren't going to tell me the adjustments they were going to make, but basically they were saying like, what do you think works well now, and what do you notice that if you tweak this it does better, and they wanted to know what I thought of how it works now.
That's cool because it's like you're getting the movement. So like they're probably like, what levels are like we know what it is, but like what do you think that it is?
Basically, yeah. But they weren't going to tell me what it was.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. When they first reached out to me, I was like, I don't know that I'm your ideal candidate for this because I don't watch anything. So like I can't give you anything from the perspective of.
You think
the regular viewer, but I can tell you what I feel like I get looking at my metrics and all of that for the videos that I put out.
Yeah.
I don't know. They seem to appreciate whatever feedback I gave them. So as far as that goes, I guess it was cool, and I appreciated getting to talk to them.
It's like an interesting perspective. Like a lot of people want to go out and be like content creators, but like it's a lot of content. I don't know, people that are like just on social media all the time and they just like want to get the attention. Where like you weren't on really Instagram or social media before this, and it's like I think coming at it from a different angle, like people like you said, like you don't look at other people's videos, but like you're getting all these views. So like maybe people that are looking at other people's videos, like they're just trying to copy things, or like they're just so wrapped up in like making edits and making all these other things that like they're not focused on like what the important pieces of this content is.
Yeah, there's so many different dynamics to all of it. And honestly, like I don't know where to start when I work in software development, and I'm an analytical guy. Data means a lot to me. Like that's why I look at the metrics, because I want to make some sense of them. But it's very much a black box, this thing. Like you can't make a lot of sense of it. You think like, all right, I got to figure it out now, and then you go do it and be like, well, right,
not
like, I've got an idea. This one's gonna kill.
Yeah,
it doesn't. Nobody watches it. It's tricky, and that's a little frustrating.
Yeah,
but honestly, the whole thing it's fun. I'm thankful for all of it.
Yeah.
I'm glad I get to do it. I'm glad that people watch it. I'm glad that people take something out of it, something positive.
No, it's good. I like checking in every day. I'm like, all right, what's Alan drinking today? It's like, and like what a lot of your other followers, so they're like, you have to try this. Like it's a fun thing that like people are following along on your beer drinking journey.
I kind of love seeing, and this is silly, but yeah, like I said, I read a lot of the comments. I respond in a positive way as much as I can. I am often tempted to respond to the negative stuff, and then I just don't do it. But it's funny to, like, somebody will say something negative, I'll think of my reply. I don't post it. I look later, and like 10 other people have like defended me. You know,
yeah, and then like you won that.
crazy.
You didn't even just say it. And it's like if you would have said it, you know, then you would have been the bad guy. It's just like you just stay there, let Alan's army take care of it.
It's weird, and you know, if you're in the public in any way at all, like people are going to have
An opinion.
their opinions,
Yeah.
right, and there's going to be a lot of negative
Before
opinions
they
because
might
people
even
have fun
before they
being
meet
negative.
They might not even watched a video of yours, and they already have an opinion about you just because they've seen you or other people interact with you. They just like see that you're on their page, and like they're not even really watching their videos. They just have an opinion, and then they're just like saying stuff.
Right. Yeah. But you know, it's all right. I have a lot of opinions too. You know, I don't always share them with the world, but it's an outlet for people.
Yeah.
And I don't take the negative stuff very seriously. Somebody I know messaged me recently, and they were like, yeah, I was listening to this podcast, not yours,
Yeah.
a different podcast. That I know it's two guys who talk about beer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they were like, they were talking about you, and they didn't like you at all. And I was like, oh, all right. Well, I was like, well, should I listen to this? I was like, I don't think I need to listen to this. You know, whatever. Like, it's funny that anybody wants to take the time to talk about me on their thing.
Oh, people are talking about you, like, and you're like, all right, who are you?
Right, but again, like, who am I? I'm just a guy, right?
Well, that's
You
the
know,
thing.
like,
It's the internet. It's like, why are people getting so wrapped up with like trying to say negative things? It's like it doesn't. Like, what are you getting at?
Right, but then again, I'm like, well, I put this stuff out every day, so I have made myself available to be commented on.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
And so that's the reality.
I guess that's part of it,
You
yeah.
know, it's okay. It really.
If you can go to a bar in Edinburgh or wherever you're at, and everybody in the bar knows you, I guess, like, you know, that's fair game for some internet trolls.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's fun.
Are you on Reddit at all?
I am not on there in any sense of like being on there and posting things.
Yeah.
When I you know, do what most people do, Google things. You know,
Yeah.
you're trying to find out something. A lot of times, Reddit's a good place to go, you know, find out something that maybe you can't get on a traditional site.
For sure.
Because a lot of people know a lot of stuff, or a lot of people think they know a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
That's what, like, I
Kitty139 has now figured out like all your answers because they spent
Yeah.
you know 400 hours figuring out your
Literally.
question.
But like Reddit is, I've always seen for like the beer audience, Reddit is intense.
Really?
Everybody
Yeah.
has opinions,
Uh-huh.
and they will defend them, and they have facts that they will back up, and you're like, all right.
So I'm curious. I'm gonna look up afterwards, after the podcast, if your name has come up on Reddit at all.
Oh, you see what they think about me? Yeah, no, I'm sure there's a variety of things out there. Well, if there's anything, you know, whatever. If there are opinions, I'm sure they're varied. But it's cool.
Yeah.
You know, when I talk to my wife or my friends or, you know, various people, like, I'm not shy about whatever dopey opinion I have at that moment, you know, and I don't know that it makes a lot of sense to me to post that somewhere where the whole world could see it if they chose to. But it's all right if people want to do that.
I love it. Well, thank you for coming on. I'm sure everyone already follows you, but you can find you at Beer with Alan on Instagram. Is that your tag everywhere?
Beer with Alan, yeah. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. There's also beerwithalan.com.
Cool.
Which has a bit of merch and stuff like that on there, and
Nice.
has links to all the accounts and things like that. So,
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on. And I guess we are Brew That Podcast, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. And yeah, thank you.
Sweet.